Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl News. My name is Brian, and Paulina Luna just drops the hammer on this crusty swamp creature that can't admit that the genie is out of the bottle and USAID needs to be brought to heel. Let's dive in.
Initially, I think the idea behind USAID was done with a good intention. However, we've come to find out that the agency has indeed, to a certain extent, operated in a rogue capacity. And USAID has absolutely broken the trust with the American people and not been transparent about where our taxpayer dollars are going. There's an individual by the name of Mike Benz. He actually served over at the State Department for a while, and he's been going on to expose a lot of what USAID has been doing, which, being a member of oversight and being on this committee, I wanted to verify and see if he was telling the truth, which, much to my disappointment, he was. And I say that because I'm disappointed that our taxpayer dollars are funding some of these items. I mean, to just put this in perspective, in 2021, the Special Operations Command under Mark Milley, as chairman of the Joint Chiefs, put out an instruction manual, a vision for 2021 and beyond, that contained instructions and examples on how the military could work with the State Department, Intel Services, and USAID using race riots. Here's examples of some of the instruction manuals here, 1 and 2, in order to destabilize nations. In addition to that, they advocated for setting up job fairs near some of these riots so that disaffected workers could gain employment. Now, as a member of Congress, I ask myself, did anyone in USAID get elected to Congress? How about to a presidency? When you are acting in the shadows and you are destabilizing nations using race wars to do it and then advocating that the military does it, in my opinion, not only do you put the future generations that would have to fight in those wars in jeopardy, but at the end of the day, you're operating without any oversight. So I guess the question for you guys is, Mr. Natsios, is that something that you were aware of? Are you aware that that instruction manual is being promoted not just with the military under Milley, but that USAID may be operating in this capacity? Because in my opinion, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of many of my constituents, I don't think that's where our taxpayer dollars need to be going.
Well, I completely agree with you. I doubt very much that what you've been told is accurate. But let me just
I'm telling you right now, I brought the receipts, okay? And the reason, I'm not trying to argue with you, but I find this disturbing on so many capacities. And I would like to also just, if I can, sir, Mike Benz, what he's exposing and bringing receipts, I've confirmed it. Thank you for doing that on behalf of the American people, because I understand that when you take on the intelligence agencies, we're also now finding that apparently in this manual that they're also advocating for social media campaigns illuminating controversy to a global audience. I mean, using disinformation campaigns. Is this happening here in our own country? Where's the oversight?
Just to ask you, who in the agency, what bureau?
I just said you can actually find that instruction in this manual that Milley approved.
Military manual, isn't it?
Yes, but Milley approved it. You have it right here. USAID working with government agencies. I mean, this is not.
Wait a second. Did AID say that, or did the military say
well,
AID?
That would be the question for you, sir.
Well, I don't think
these
AID
operations,
wrote that.
Sorry to interrupt you. These operations that are taking place without government oversight, without the authority of the president, without the authority of Congress, real men and women serve and they die because of stuff like this. When you destabilize nations without any oversight, we have to fight those wars. You have our chairman right here that literally risked his life. No, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm frustrated. I know it's not necessarily your fault.
But I'm telling you,
but as
nonsense.
a head of agency, that's not.
I'm telling what Ben's told you is nonsense.
That's not nonsense. These are the information
AID
forms.
didn't
And
write that.
Ben's put this out to the American people.
AID did not write that,
Sir, I
Congresswoman.
disagree with you on so many levels, and I appreciate you being here
How do
today
you
because
know they
this is
wrote
not
it?
easy. How do I know what?
That any person can write AID's name into a manual. It goes on all the
Sir,
time.
they are advocating that the U.S. military
Not
work
the-
with
and not
taxpayer-funded State
AID.
Department USAID funds to destabilize nations. That is
Someone in
unacceptable.
special-
I don't care who wrote it. USAID needs to come down and condemn it. They need to provide oversight to Congress on exactly where our tax dollars are going. And I know I might be at 17 seconds with our time, but sir, I hope that you agree. Yes or no, do you agree that this is wrong? Period.
I
Should
think
this
the
be
military
happening?
should be held accountable. I think it's
And
nonsense.
should USAID condemn it?
Nonsense to
Should
suggest that
USAID
AID
condemn
wrote
it?
that.
Should they condemn it?
The military should.
Should USAID also condemn this?
Of course, we don't
Thank you.
comment. AID
Chairman, I
does
yield
not
my time.
comment on military
Thank you,
mandates.
sir.
Ladies, time's
None of our
expired.
business.
Y'all, denial isn't just a river in Africa, okay? This dude is in complete denial, all because he helped build USAID. This is Andrew Natsios, and ultimately this dude ballooned USAID under President George W. Bush. Okay, this dude considers himself a conservative Republican, and he refuses to look at the behemoth he created, and he refuses to admit that this dog is off the chain and it's terrorizing the neighborhood. Okay? This is the kind of father who's smart enough to buy a good home, to marry well, to raise good kids and trust that the school system is going to educate them, but then he is in complete denial once these kids go off to college and start getting these weird tattoos, these dumb piercings, and joining these just terrible fraternities and sororities, and then partying like there's no tomorrow, and then refusing to admit that he's not seeing the warning signs. Come on, the kids are hungover on Thanksgiving. Dad, you need to start stepping up here, okay? This dude thinks that he has created something good, which arguably he did. He has done some work with the, let's see, what's the organization called? He has done work with World Vision, which is the largest Christian non-governmental organization in the world with programs in over 130 countries. This dude literally thinks that USAID is doing the exact same thing as this non-governmental organization, except it's not. It has been just proven time and time again that USAID is fraught with fraud, fraught with abuse, has all these problems attached with it, and to make matters worse, are pushing these weird agendas that don't really help anyone and might even be a money laundering scheme. Okay? It might be that bad. And this dude is out here watching this fat cat grow fatter and fatter and fatter and refuses to do anything about the problem. And that's partially because he's no longer in power, so I'm not blaming him for the issue, but he has to understand this is something that a lot of Bush-era and Bush-League conservatives don't fully understand. That is, when you give up the levers of power, often to the Democrat Party, they are going to give the lefties in their party everything they want. If someone wants a special little project to fund transgender operas in Ireland, oh, you better believe they're going to get that money. If someone wants to write transgender comic books out in the jungles of Peru, they're going to get money for it. And it happens every single time when Democrats get in power. Democrats unironically love pork. And we used to be against that as the conservative party and the Republican Party. But that has just gone away. Well, until Donald Trump showed up and took away their toys. That's essentially what is happening. These Bush-era and Bush-League conservatives have had their toys taken away by Donald Trump, and now Daddy's home, and they're about to get disciplined because they let everything dissolve into a complete and total mess. For instance, USAID doubled underneath this man's tutelage, and he thought it was a good thing because he's one of the good guys. You see, he's the bulwark against Democrat insanity. Why are you chewing out the night guard? Well, maybe because the night guard has been letting this company get robbed blind in broad daylight as well as overnight. And so ultimately, when you're that incompetent, when you have let that much damage be done, you are going to get chewed out. And brother, this man's getting chewed out, and rightfully so, and I hate doing this. And you can tell Paulina Luna is not happy that she has to do this. They don't want to chew out the people that were trying to do good things and have good government. Except the problem now is we're not having good things, and we're not having good government, all because these guys ultimately gave way too much power to these governmental organizations, and they're now just bewildered, for lack of a better word, that things have come to this level of abuse, fraud, and waste. And they don't want to look in the mirror and admit, yeah, maybe we caused this, maybe we started this nonsense. And instead of admitting that, hey, I did something wrong, can I please join the big boys table now, and I will start behaving and acting in the way that's actually in accordance with my values. Instead, this dude goes in full denial mode and refuses to admit that he has enabled one of the biggest problems in America today, and that is the waste, fraud, and sheer amount of abuse that USAID is doing. And furthermore, by the way, shout out to Mike Benz. I love being able to shout him out on this channel. I consider myself a disciple of his. When he started revealing what the CIA actually does with their funding, everything started to click when it comes to why we've been so weird on foreign policy. Ultimately, we have to admit that Ron Paul was right, and we owe him one big apology. And now we've come to this point where Donald Trump is now trying to rein in government spending. You have the majority of the Republican Party realizing that, oh, the time is now to start enacting reforms, and we really need to just remind the old guard of the conservatives that thought that George W. Bush did a fantastic job as president. He didn't. And ultimately, these people need to understand something. That they have accidentally created a behemoth. They have created a Frankenstein's monster, and now the monster is on the loose. It is time to put the monster back in the cage and lock the key and give it a strict diet of bread, milk, and water, and hopefully that monster loses a whole lot of its bulk because it's currently terrorizing the town and making everything worse on the world stage. And don't come to me clutching your pearls saying that, oh, we're trying to counter China. Absolutely not. China is laughing at our foreign policy. And now that Trump is back in office, they're starting to want to come to the negotiating table a little bit more because they know that negotiating with a strong man is way more difficult, but way more beneficial than negotiating with a weak man. Because a weak man is going to get pushed time and time and time again. When there's an inch, they'll take a mile. But against a strong person like Trump, let's be honest here, and not like George W. Bush, we're going to get better results and likely better deals that will have better impact for the world. So, y'all, if you are still considering yourself as a Bush-era conservative, please understand what we're trying to do. We are trying to fix the mess. And that's essentially what's happening here. So, Anna Paulina Luna, keep taking it to this dude. And I'm sorry, Andrew Natsios, you have done good work, but the things that you have allowed and the things that you have enabled have ultimately come back to haunt us. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed this segment here on PolitiBrawl News. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.